What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Boxing Shop. We're live again. It's Monday night. Sorry for our absence last week. Things got a little hectic, but we're trying to get back to the groove of everything now. And we got the new fall seasons coming up soon too. So get ready for you know how we do every year: new season, new look, and whatnot. So and we have some new things in store. Maybe a new show on the horizon. But yeah, we'll keep it at that. But for now, here we are. What's up, Ray? How you doing, man?
Hey man, doing good, man. Another week back at it. Every other week that works, right? We'll get going, but yeah, man, it's doing good.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're just tuning in, we usually say this at the end of the show, but make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, do all that. Get the algorithming. Please share it with your friends. We had a nice run. The boxing shop has been, for some of you guys that are new listeners and some of you guys have been following a long time, we've been at it for many years. We go in spurts though. Sometimes life gets busy. You know how it is. This isn't our full time job, so when life gets busy, we have to take a step back sometimes. But we're trying to get back here to the weekly podcast. Again, Monday nights is the boxing shop. Friday nights you have Catch and Counter, and then Sunday night we're doing a new thing with a recap show of the weekend's events. Because in the shop we like to just shoot the shit. We don't really stay on topic too much. So Sundays are going to be a good recap show. And yesterday Dakota and Nibs held it down pretty good with the breakdown of Crawford and Madrimov. But you know how we do it here in the shop. We like to talk our shit. So the name of the show tonight is Bud a Dud? And I think that is a great question. That is a great question. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you think we're just being haters or is Bud a dud. I will at least get my
Is Nibs coming on? Is Nibs coming
yeah.
on?
Actually, here he is right here. Nibs,
Oh,
welcome.
there's the Bud Venger right there. And
Yes.
just I'm trying to pace myself. Do we have an interview tonight?
No interviews. We actually did have an interview
Oh,
postponed. Shout out Sergio Hernandez. He'll be on. And then shout out Trevor McCumbee. He'll be coming on again soon, too. I was chatting with him real quick. But hey,
dope.
big news. Trevor McCumbee, Caleb Plant, WBA Super Middleweight Championship. Let's go, baby. Team McCumbee. And then also the ITR merch store coming soon. Although this shirt's not gonna be this shirt's not gonna be for sale. This is a custom made one for myself, olive green. I wore it for the Danny Barrios press conference because he was fighting for the green belt, so I had to throw on a green shirt. Nibs got his ITR merch on too right now. His catchphrase: support local boxing. And as you see, Ray's got some merch. We might throw some ski masks available online. I think that might be a hit for some of the people. But the ITR merch store is coming sooner than you think. Now we're about done. And yeah, here we go. The name of the show.
Not put the ski mask on there, bro.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that would be dumb to not put it on there. But hey, Nibs,
The ski mask got to be the most recognizable shit we got, bro. Like as far as merch, you know what I'm saying?
That is true. I think this is the first time my beard's longer than yours, man.
Man, I just shaved it, bro, this morning. Yeah, no, actually, I lied. I shaved that shit yesterday morning because it was getting out of hand. Like, yeah, my shit was nappy.
It's crazy long sometimes, and it's hot out here,
bro. No bullshit. Like when I was getting ready to shave it, I realized I was like, "Yo, I got some dry barbecue sauce in this motherfucker, bro. Fattest shit ever. Fattest shit ever.
Wow. Big back Nibs over here,
like a motherfucker."
Hey, this heat is nothing to f with, just like Wu-Tang in this coffee. But
bruh. So I went to the store earlier to get dinner. Right from the car to the store, just that walk. You know how when you walk into the store, they got that rush of air that they hit you with when you come in. That shit hit me and my shirt stuck to my shit. I was like, God damn, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy and it's humid.
Yeah.
But Nibs, what do you think of the name of the show? Is Bud a dud?
Is Bud a dud? Here we go with this, man. The disrespect is real. But you know what?
We started with
SG though, because it'll draw in.
Yeah, but where we start with, because I thought it was a good card. Like just thinking, that was I was kind of going into it I was really let down that the Zoo Ortiz fight wasn't on it. But when I tuned in and I started with, Big Baby Anderson, I was like, yo, this is heavyweights are just different, bro. Like, because anything could happen. And man, I really enjoyed the card. I thought they pulled it off.
It was a good card. Well, when I tuned in, what I saw was good. I want to go back and watch the rest of Ryo and Pitbull. Sounded like a good fight. But hey, shout out Ryo, man! Congrats. That's huge.
Yeah.
Always love seeing when a guy gets his first world title. That first one is special, and
especially when you're an underdog, man.
That and right. I like seeing a dude like you always want to leave it in your own hands. You want to win by knockout, but seeing a dude here and new when the cards are being announced, that just hits different than a knockout. Knockout, it's done. He's a world champion. He's got that title. But seeing it go to the scorecards, seeing them waiting for that announcement, and then their excitement level as they hear that they've accomplished that lifelong dream. Shout out Ryo, man. That was a good moment for him, and he did his damn thing, man. Who knew that he had those boxing skills inside of him like that?
You should have never had. I think you shouldn't have 2 losses. I said that shit last night.
That's true too. If we're starting there, I just thought sticking to the game plan was the big thing, man. Like, because you could tell he was in a fire. He was in a fire, right? And he was, they say, well, you can't go swim without getting wet. Well, he was getting wet too. But to stick to that game plan, that's crazy. But to stick to that game plan and, get out of there before he got hit too many times. And it was never running either. I think that's like when you look at a boxer puncher, I thought Ryo, was a good example of that.
I think that's exactly a good way to break it down. That's what a boxer puncher is. And I think he's been...
Because he made Pitbull respect. Like, I think Pitbull has probably one of the best chins in the sport. But there was a couple times where I was like, oh, is he hurt? So, he was boxing, he was moving, but when he did throw punches, speaking on Ryo, he was really sitting down and especially on those uppercuts. And, I think that's, to beat someone like Pitbull, which is a tough feat in itself, you got to get that respect. And I thought Ryo fought perfect fight, basically.
The problem for Pitbull is he's one-dimensional, as fuck. And it's cool because you eventually most times will just wear your guy down. But the second you run into somebody with any kind of decent boxing skills, it's a wrap. You know what I mean?
But Nibs, I'd kind of disagree with that because I don't think it just takes boxing skills. I really think you have to be a puncher as well. Because he was coming in, he was getting hit hard. I don't think Shakur Stevenson does that to Pitbull, right? I mean, maybe he could move whatever and make it ugly and win, but to win in a dominant fashion while boxing, I thought Ryo was I thought he was on his A game, man. I don't think just anyone that can move beats Pitbull.
I think Shakur could pull it off because he hits hard enough. He hit, and it's one of those things where you're not catching him. So you know what I mean? It's the Floyd Mayweather effect. He ain't gonna knock you out, but he'll hit you hard enough to keep you from. It's why nobody else rushes Floyd, right? Because he hits hard enough to give you pause. You know what I mean? So it's not. I don't think Shakur is not. He's not knocking anybody out, but there's a reason why motherfuckers just don't bull rush him because they can't. He hits hard enough to give him pause. But Pitbull is one of those dudes where it's he has an unbreakable will, bro. And his chin is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's got the best chin out of little men I've seen in a while, bro.
That
you're right. He get caught clean too.
He's got a really tight defense too, so it's hard to catch him. He keeps his head down. It's really hard to catch him. So with his chin, if you can touch it, that's can you even hurt it? So yeah, definitely shout out to Pitbull for that.
Yeah, and I mean, come on, he went 12 with Tank, and I know Tank hurt his hand or whatever in that, but he hurt his hand because of Pitbull, right? I think that's when he caught it on Pitbull was blocking. I think if Pitbull goes back down, I know he got the belt at 140, but if he goes back down to 35, I think he's a problem for all those guys. But I thought Pitbull was gonna win, man. I really like Ryo. I really like Ryo, and I even as a fan of Ryo, I was like, man, this is gonna be tough. But man, he took a step up till he spoke on the camp how good it was, and yeah, that camp, trained with Robert Garcia, the 140 pounders that he has there, Lindolfo, Jose Ramirez. It's like, man, you could have all world champions in there right there. Like, I don't know if Ryo is the best 140 pounder at the gym, which is crazy because he's a world champ now. But, really looking forward to big fights. I think that win was a life-changing win, man, because now Ryo as a world champ is really going to could get some big fights, right? And that moneymaker is Tank, obviously, but all those fights, bro. Like someone mentioned Teofimo, bro. Ryo now, he's holding the cards, and it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Shout out to everybody tuning in again. Jesus M, Michelle, Ellis too. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate the comments and the love. Definitely want to touch on this one here too. Ryo sort of stayed in the pocket to throw more punches. Ryo still drops his hands and leans back and gets caught a little bit. Yeah, but I mean, it was effective. What he did was effective, and he pulled out the job. I thought from what I watched, I didn't see the entire fight, caught it midway through. He was definitely doing what he needed to win.
I thought he stayed in the pocket just enough, right? He wasn't in there with just anybody. He's in there with the only chance for Pitbull to win was to stay in that pocket too long. And like I said, I think Ryo did enough. He let his hands go when he needed to, moved around. And it wasn't an ugly fight, man. Like, it was an action fight at the end of the day, I thought.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure he would find things that he could do better. But I thought he won clearly. When they did announce that it was split, I got a little worried, man, because, they were already talking Pitbull, Tank, too. And when those fights are kind of set up already, what can happen, right? So I was like, man, please don't rob him. That's what it came down to. Like, please don't rob him, man. Don't rob him this time. But, yeah, 116, 112 on 2 cards. Thought they got it right. And congrats again to Ryo.
And not that we're Tank, like we're all Tank fans. We're all big supporters of Tank. Who isn't really, right? I'm a huge fan of him myself, but I'm critical on certain things because I feel like he, not in a bad way, but I feel like he's picking opponents early in their career, kind of what people accuse Floyd Mayweather doing with Canelo, early in his career before he was Canelo. And I feel like Tank does that as well, or at least he's doing that. I mean, he fought Pitbull before he was really Pitbull. What people came to know about him. Who knows what Frank Martin still has to offer to us? I think he still has a bright future. But again, very early in his career, Ryo has already kind of been around a little bit at that level, but I feel like that's the right opponent that Tank would look for. And what do you guys think? Do you think we see Ryo and Tank? I think that's the kind of opponent that falls in line with who they pick for him.
I mean, right? Like you kind of want that fight for Ryo because that's the big money maker. That's a fight we all want to see. But for Tank, I don't know. Like, you take that fight, that's obviously Tank going to 140, but then, you're going to get the criticism. So you could go to 140 for Ryo, but there's other guy, but you're going to put like rehydration clauses on Ryan. And it's just one of those things where it shows that Tank's kind of picking and choosing, who he could fight on an even term with. And that doesn't look good to me. And I'm a big Tank fan. But it's like, if you're going to 140, like, be open to everybody at 140. Don't just, I could cherry pick a belt right here. Not that I think it's a cherry pick, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's the fight I want to see. But if that's the fight we get, then, hey, Tank, campaign at 140. And I mean everybody at 140, not just smaller guys or guys that just moved up or whatever. So that's my only kind of complaint with that fight.
I mean, it's a similar complaint when he moved up to 140 the first time, but that dub has aged extremely well, right? I mean, the guy he beat is now a champ at 147. So it's like, you know, the damned if you do, damned if you don't, if you tank. I figured the way I look at it is this: there's so much money to be made in his current division. He doesn't have to go anywhere right now. You know what I'm saying? I think there's at least 2 fights he can make at 135 that everybody and their mama would pay a mint for. So
who's that?
With Shakur and Lomachenko.
Who you talking about?
Yeah, if he fights those 2 guys, people will be lining up around the corner to watch it. No matter what we think of it, those are big ass fights. People are going to show up in droves to watch it, right? If he does go up to fight Ryo, there's a lose there because that's a guy who can actually box. You could potentially lose to. Now, whether Ryo's chin can handle Tank's punches or not, probably not. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nobody has. But it's a lose for Tank. It's not as nearly as much money as he can get for staying in his current division right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. So let's see. I mean, from everything that we've heard, kind of Loma, I'm not gonna say ducked, but Loma's kind of stepped away from that fight, right? So I mean, that would leave Shakur. I mean, that's a big fight. I just don't know, man. Like, I think there are bigger fights at 140. Like, I'd rather see Teofimo tank. I think I'd honestly probably rather see Devin Haney tank. Ryo, yeah, man. I'm not really
throwing out different names now. Those names, yeah, I'd love to see him jump up to 140 for those names. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I still think I just don't know, man.
Go ahead, Ray.
Go ahead, Felix.
I was
just saying, like, man, we come on, man. I'm just gonna say, I think Shakur has really hurt himself, man. And maybe that's just me being a hater, but like the way he fights, the way he handles himself after fights, especially this last one, it's like I kind of don't want to see that rewarded. Even at this fight, right, this Saturday, and there's clips of him going at Lomachenko. It's like, come on, man. Like, let that guy enjoy the fight or whatever. You know, you see Shakur walking up on him. Why don't you fight me? It's like, bro, this dude has just said he's going to take the rest of the 24 off, right? I just don't know, man. Shakur, you know, you do what you do in the ring for sure, but I think you also build fans outside of the ring. And outside of the ring, I think Shakur is one of the most unlikable people in the sport there is, bro. Like, I don't want to see him.
I agree completely with that, especially his post-fight antics. I mean, we saw Terrence Crawford and Andre Ward, 2 of the best, giving him advice. And, I mean, literally 2 of that are going to go down as the greatest of all time, giving him advice, and he's, like, arguing with him the whole time. Like, shut up, listen, these guys have been where they've lost more than you've ever won. So, and they've never lost. So, like, bro, like, come on. Listen to them. These dudes, and
they're technicians too, right? Like, these guys are everything that you would say what a boxer should be. So it's not like, oh, this guy is just a brawler. I don't really need to listen to him. It's like these guys are trying to do, or you're trying to do what they've done over and over. Like, you know, Andre Ward won a gold medal. You cried because you lost at the Olympics. Right. It's like, you know, Bud gets props for going after people. So we thought we'll talk about that coming up. But, like, you run around against guys that you're 100% more talented than. So, I don't know, man. Just seeing him going at Lomachenko. When Lomachenko has stated he didn't, like, he's taking the rest of the year off, whether that's a negotiation tactic or what. But, like, Shakur, you're on the internet. You know what it is. Like, you definitely saw the report that Lomachenko wants to spend the rest of the year with his family. Why are you walking up to this guy? Why are you walking up to him trying to, like, I don't know, go viral or whatever? Like, hey, why don't you fight me? Bob's protecting you. It's like, I don't know, man. Show some respect, really. Yeah. That's what I took, man. Like,
I will say this though. I do think if Shakur and Tank fight, we see the Shakur that we know is in there. Like the Shakur that fought Oscar Valdez, we're gonna see that times 2, times 3. Like Tank. I think he's gonna put on a hell of a performance. And bro, I don't know. I'd have to see how their training camps are looking, and body language when they're face to face and everything. But I would probably lean towards Shakur. I'm not even lying. Like, he is. I truly believe him when he says, "You want to see the best of me? Wait till I fight the best." I believe him with that because of how he's performed against higher skilled opposition. I truly do believe it.
I mean,
but when we get that fight, who knows?
Shakur is supreme.
And I'm holding this up because you need to pee in it. Somebody drug test Felix. Talking about we're going to beat Tank. Get out of here.
I thought you were going to take a shot, but yeah. Hey, Shakur is supremely talented, right? Like, he could do things in the boxing ring that probably 99% or 95, whatever, can't do. It's just, man, I don't know. He doesn't take chances. And where he'd be in with someone that could really hurt him, I'm speaking on Tank. I don't think we get anything different, man. Like, this last fight, everything was on the line, right? He was coming off of a horrible performance, and he's in his hometown. They have a guy in there. All you got to do is get this guy out, right? If Shakur gets this guy out of there, we're not having this conversation right now. And what does Shakur do? He regressed to what he has done in the past. Move around, not take chances, not let his hands go. Same thing that Ward and Crawford told him after the fight. I think that's Shakur, man. I don't think that because Tank's in front of him now, he's going to become some monster. Like, will he try to box? Yeah. Could he outbox Tank? Maybe his boxing skills are that good, but I just don't think I don't think he's going to put himself in an entertaining fight. And whether he has to or not, I mean, that's on him, right? But don't cry about it, that you're not getting fights or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, it's hard to support him when he acts the way he does in public, on public platforms, everything, whether it's in a video, whether it's in a fan video showing him in a crowd, whether it's him on Twitter. Like, he's definitely doing the I don't even think he's like Floyd Mayweather went to intentionally get disliked. I don't think Shakur is intentionally trying to get disliked. I think he's just guys that Edgar Berlanga effect. People are just not watching him.
It's almost like, and maybe we're just old, right? I'm old, but it's just like he's an entitled kid, man.
Yeah.
And especially with the people that he's picking fights with, right? Like Mason Camrod, right? He was going after them and trying to do that. And then it's like Lomachenko's an older guy. And then just seeing him and they're his boys or whatever, but Ward and Crawford, it's like, man, just listen. And hey, he's winning fights, whatever, man. You don't got to listen, but I'm telling you right now, that's why I don't want to see you fight. And
see, I'm with you, Jesus. He didn't bring out the best of Shakur, but it's also not one of the best fighters out there. Not that he's a bad fighter. He is good.
But it was someone that we thought could hurt Shakur if they got into it. So if he fought like that against Dos Santos, how's he going to fight against Tank? I mean, we're really giving him too much credit if we just think that he's going to, now he's going to go into beast mode.
At the same time, Edwin didn't do a whole lot himself to really press Shakur. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if Tank is in there, he is going to press him. And that's when we're going to see the best come out of Shakur. Oscar Valdez pressed him, and then look what happened. It's just, hey, we're entitled to our own guys.
A good fight is the fight that they're talking. Let me get this off, Nip. A good fight is the fight they're talking about. Him and Zepeda, right? Because William Zepeda is going to come at him throwing punches, hundreds of punches. And let's see how that fight goes, right? Like, I think that's a fight where Shakur can really shine because Zepeda is going to be in front of him throwing punches. If Shakur makes a fight with William Zepeda look ugly, then it's worse than I thought. Because you shouldn't be in an ugly fight with that guy because that guy's coming right at you. So I actually hope that fight happens. It's rumored, it's mandatory, but it's boxing, right? We could just wait and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, bro. Like, I don't think I'm gonna just say this, bro. Shakur gets in there with Tank. He's on a track meet, bro. Him and Noel Lyles will train together for that fight. That's how fast that boy is going to be running around that ring trying to avoid that right hand or the left hand. It's not going to be it. Tank is literally going to have to hunt him down to be able to get him to engage. Because let's not forget, Tank's bread and butter is being a counter puncher. So you know what I'm saying. Unless you're running from him, which we saw in the Frank Martin fight, he'll come at you. Once he downloads the information, though, it's a wrap. With Shakur, it's going to be a completely different thing because there's not going to be any information to download. He's just going to be running all night, trying to stick and move and get out of there and not get touched. Because he knows he can't take Tank's punches, bro. Oscar Valdez, all due respect to him, but Oscar Valdez is not Tank Davis.
No, now Oscar Valdez was a lot smaller, and I think that, Shakur probably knew he couldn't get hurt by Valdez. I mean, Valdez started at what? 26, if not lower.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nibs. Like, I think Shakur Stevenson is Shakur Stevenson. Like, we could keep waiting and we could keep buying into he talks a lot. Oh, now I'm going to show him. Now, I think he is who he is. And honestly, I think that's probably being a product of USA boxing, right? Like going to the Olympics, being that level of amateur where Shakur was a great amateur, made it to the Olympics. If you go to the Olympics, right, to me, you're a great amateur. But that's a point style. And I think he grew up. I think that was the goal probably the whole time, to win gold. And it just hasn't translated to being a pro. He has no power. He can't hit. And he's just happy winning the fights. I don't think because he's in there with Tank that, now we're going to see a different guy. We were supposed to see a different guy this past fight, the fight before that, different guy. Nah, he talks the difference, but in the end, he is who he is. And, yeah, man, I think that's it.
And you're right. I mean, we've seen him be the aggressor, like you said, twice, right? In his entire career. He's been the aggressor maybe 3 or 4, a handful of times. Let's just say that. He's been the aggressor a handful of times against people he knew had absolutely no chance of hurting him. There's no way in the hell he tries to get into a firefight with Tank Davis. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And that's why, like, for me, and I've said it, I think the better fight is him and Haney. Because I'm sure both guys think they can't hurt each other. So you might get a good fight out of it. If Shakur knows that someone can hurt him, Dos Santos, Tank for sure, bro, I don't think it's going to be good. Maybe and him and Lomachenko probably would be a good fight, right? Like one of the greatest amateurs ever against a great amateur fighter. Like, I don't think Lomachenko is really knocking people out, or I don't think Shakur would maybe fear his power. You get super high level chess right there, and that might be a good fight. Probably a great fight, but I don't know, man. I don't think we see him in Tank, and if we do, I don't think it's going to be some, Hagler Hearns type fight.
Oh yeah, I don't know. When we get to that point, if we ever get to that point, there's going to be some bets being made for sure. I don't know how we.
Hey man, I love to be proven. I know when I'm talking bad about a guy, I love to be proven wrong. But I just think he is. I just think he is who he is. And I know you were about to say, I don't know how we got on Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah, I don't know how we got on Shakur.
I don't know. We started with Rayo. I don't know. That's what we do here. That's what we do, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's why we got that third show now, the weekend recap. They'll spend the entire show just talking about the recap. That was yesterday.
Props to you, Shakur, because somehow I'm talking about you, right? Like, so, hey, you won. Well, I guess going up to Lomachenko worked because we're talking about you. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's enough.
I have no idea.
Shakur Stevenson talk. Now, one fight story that's kind of written itself through time and history was Big Baby and Big Baby. Historically, we had Big Baby Miller was coming up. He was that guy for some people. Then, the drug test happened, and he's only fought exclusively overseas now. Still picking up some interesting fights. He had a hell of a fight. Was last year on January 1st, I believe. I mean, he's been doing his thing still. Not like he's a world contender or anything like that, but he's been in entertaining fights. And then we have Jared Big Baby Anderson, and he's got all the prospect stories and everything written about him. He has the top ranked machine behind him, backing him big time. And we've said it before many times. Top Rank, it does a great job, but at the same time does a disservice to their fighters with the way they bring him along. Could that be is that what happened last weekend when he got stopped for the first time in his career? Who knows? We'll talk about that in a bit. But the most interesting thing is the Big Baby battle. They had words at the press conference. They were exchanging words. And I think with Anderson taking an L and Miller having a competitive and possibly winnable fight against Andy Ruiz, I think we're finally at the point where that fight actually makes sense. What do you guys think? Don't all talk at once.
We've been talking at once, so I was trying to get Nib. Let me know, Nibs. You want me to go? You go.
So, look, I think, to be honest with you, I think it would be a decent bounce back fight for the real Big Baby, Jared Anderson. I think, coming back from the Bacoli fight, I mean, he completely underestimated Bacoli. He thought he could, just out athlete this guy. He didn't realize, man strength is a real thing, right? And he caught them paws. And I think Big Baby is Big Baby. He's just going to come forward if the, fight we just saw with Ruiz is any indication. He's just going to come forward. He doesn't throw as many punches as we're accustomed to him doing, which will serve right into Jared Anderson's wheelhouse and give us a good fight. I think it'd be a good bounce back fight. Again, considering what and another thing too, Big Baby actually looked in shape for once, which is crazy. He didn't look like just a big ass butterball. So if he's putting dedication back into his craft, it'd actually be a real good fight for both guys, I think, because it gives Big Baby to prove, he's not just the steroid guy, and it gives Jared Anderson a chance to prove that, hey, my last performance was a one-off, and I'm back on track. But I would say that to say I'd love to see it. I still think Jarrell wins that one.
Yeah. As for Jared Anderson, bro, we've been hearing this next great American heavyweight. And if he underestimated Okole, bro, if you almost lose to Charles Martin, you shouldn't underestimate anybody. Like, remember Charles Martin had him hurt. So I was kind of glad Big Baby Anderson, like I thought hopefully that's the end of that for me, because to me he's just not it. And that title, next great American, like that nah, bro, you're not selling that to me, or I'm not buying it. And in that fight, like he is another guy. He is who he is, right? Like he's athletic, yeah, but to me he's just not a fighter. And I'll go to that Roy Jones interview, right, where he was crying and I want to retire by the time I'm 26. Like, nah, bro, that's not gonna get you where you need to be. So I thought Okole did us a favor, got him out of here. And in the meantime, bro, like, come on, we don't want to see Okole fight again. Like a big dude that can hit like that. Like, come on, him and Big Bang Zhang, him against Wilder, him against. Like, I thought we got a new heavyweight that we want to see, and especially with these Riyadh seasons where they kind of put heavyweights on. I think we have a new player in the game. It's like, sign me up again. Him against anybody. Joseph Parker, Big Baby Miller.
And he proved he had a chin too, because Jared caught him flush with some mean punches, bro. And he just walked through them shits like they wasn't nothing. So he's dangerous. He's dangerous at the top, bro.
And he understands.
Yeah, for sure.
I think what really won that for him too is he understood timing. He was able to capture Anderson's, because if you match him up, Anderson still is a better fighter overall. Probably does everything better than him. But I think Bacoli understood. That's the thing about boxing is, like, you you can be great at the sport. You can be talented, hit hard, be fast, but then how do you execute that? And I think Coley executed his strengths to the max, and Anderson probably take his strengths for granted. And I think you have a right. What you said, Ray, he's not a fighter, Anderson.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's a lot of people are going to not understand that. I think really kind of trying to explain at least what I got from what Ray said is that he doesn't have that fighter's temperament. Some guys, they are in their Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., for example. That dude just wanted to fight. He didn't care who it was, whether it was cab drivers while he was a world champion. He didn't care who it was. He wanted to fight, whether he was fighting for $100 or $100,000. He didn't care who it was. He was in there fighting. He has that fighter's temperament. If he could get licensed to this day, he would fight. Anderson doesn't have that kind of dog in him, in a sense. He did show that he has heart. He got up.
Oh, yeah.
To the end, without a doubt. And maybe that's going to spark that from him. Maybe that's what he needed to bring it out of him. But I think at the end of the day, that fighter's temperament, that fighter's spirit is what was lacking in him. And maybe this loss is going to bring it out of him, because we saw that he does have, that little bit of heart. He didn't pull a Victor Ortiz and just say, I'm done. I'm too young to be getting beat up like this. He gutted it out to the end. We'll see what the future holds next for him, for sure.
100%. Let me go back and give Big Baby Anderson some credit, because he did get up, and he could have easily not got up. And when he started crying again with Roy and all that, and I'll say, bro, this dude ain't no fighter. Well, guess what? He got hit by probably one of the top, I don't know, let's say 5 top 10 punchers in the world, right? Like Okoli's like a huge heavyweight, hits hard. He got hit and he got up, and he ended the fight on his feet. Right, the ref waved it off eventually. So for him to keep getting up, because he got knocked down multiple times, a lot of props to Anderson. I'm not all props, because I'm still gonna hate a little bit, but we're gonna give you a lot of props. But yeah, man, I was surprised he got up. And like you said, Felix, maybe now something sparks in him. I don't know. I haven't heard any post-fight interviews of what he wants to do. But yeah, Okolie did his thing, and let me take a minute to hate on Chris Mannix, because Okolie hit him with like a perfect uppercut, bro. It was one of the most clean, perfect left uppercuts. And watching the fight, and Mannix is like, "Oh, that's just an accumulation of punches." It's like, no, man. We need better commentators. Sergio Mora, Chris Mannix, get them out of there. I don't know what dirt they have on the zone, but those guys are like, they're kind of ruining the viewing for fans, right? Like when you're telling me something's happening and that's not just what happened, like I really hate that. But props to Anderson. I want to see Okolie again. And Big Baby Miller, with all the doping, it's like, how are you getting another chance? But you can see he did take the fight serious. And I don't necessarily think he won. He could have won. I'm happy with the draw, but definitely great opening fights for a pay-per-view card on my end.
I'll say this though. I think if Andy Ruiz doesn't hurt his hand, and we all saw how legit that was. I mean, it looked like he had a bone sticking out of his hand at the end of the fight. I mean, that shit looked nasty. I don't know how long he's gonna be out, but his hand was literally of no use to him. I think if that injury doesn't happen, he probably smokes Jarrell Miller, to be honest with you, because Andy can really bang. Pause. But I will say that I think Jared Anderson's problem is something we see in boxing all the time, right? We see these prospects who continue to cherry pick their opponents. They get easy opponents. I mean, there was at one point where he was fighting a guy who was less than 6 feet. The dude was like 5'8". You know what I'm saying? And he comes in and he's knocking these cab drivers out, or glorified cab drivers out. He finally steps up and gets a guy who was a world champion in Charles Martin, and almost loses that fight by knockout. Doesn't learn anything from that fight, right? Goes into the Bacoli fight and tries to do the same thing he's been doing to all these tomato cans, and then gets knocked out. We say this all the time. You have to fall in love with the shit you're bad at, so that you can use the shit you're good at, better. And he's not learned that at all, bro. He's just continued to do what he's been getting away with because he's not fighting anybody with any resistance. He found somebody who can punch harder than him and could take his punches, and he couldn't adapt. So unless he figures it out, it's going to be a long road for Jared Anderson, bro.
Yeah, and I don't know if he wants to figure it out, honestly. And that's based off all the interviews I've seen up to this. When someone's saying I want to retire at 26, it's like, what? Like, come on, what's the goal there? And you said former world champion, which you're correct, Charles Martin. But like, let's not forget that was one of the worst champions of all time, right? Like he won it because the dude twisted his ankle or something. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his opponent twisted his ankle and couldn't continue. And yeah, like you guys said, man, Jared Anderson was placed with opponents in front of him that he just did what he was supposed to do, and now he was like in a fight where we kind of didn't know. So do we see him again? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if we see him again. I would like to see him against because so that it doesn't happen to him. I'd like to see him against a Richard Torres, right? Because Richard Torres is kind of going down that same path. Like, bro, you're beating up the guy that drove me home, like.
Right.
And you were an Olympian. So what is the holdup there? This is kind of a topic we kind of always go back to, but what is the holdup? So if this did, create a Richard Torres, Jared Anderson fight, I think that's a big fight for Top Rank and one that would teach us a lot. So I wouldn't be mad at that. I think there's fights for him, but I also don't think he's ever going to be what they tried to sell him as.
Bro, that's crazy. Freaking Richard Torres opponents have to Uber people home from the arena afterwards because that's their regular job. That's wild. That's crazy work, man.
Well, and it's crazy because Richard Torres was an Olympian, man.
I know.
Right? I know. Like, and I get he got knocked out in the World Series of Boxing, whatever. But come on, his confidence has to be back by now.
Yeah, I think we might still be too hard. And it's something that you've alluded to before, Ray. There's a mix. We do like seeing the rise of a prospect, but the way Top Rank does it is they shove them in your face. Like they're giving the prospects the same amount of love that they give Lomachenko. And they just shove it in your face. And Top Rank, granted, that's their promotional company. Why wouldn't you ride for your fighters, right? But they do it in a sense that it makes it, I don't know, makes it kind of unwatchable for diehards like us. So when they're throwing, Richard Torres at our face, the dude only has 10 fights or less than 10 fights still. Yet, they're building him up like he's a big star already. A little bit too early, too soon. And it's just kind of the way the Top Rank model goes. I think we might still be too hard on Richard Torres, let him grow. But it's just the fact that they're putting him on display in front of us so early on in his career that we're expecting that championship level already from them. You know what I mean? Whereas, you see a fighter come up and go the Showbox route back in the day, ESPN Friday Night Fights, where you see them on a platform that's built for that, as opposed to the way Top Rank does it. It's a little bit different. And I think that's where the problem is with Richard Torres. He's a victim of Top Rank in a sense. Not
is he though? Is he? I mean, you look at a lot of other Olympians from other countries. They're 10, 15 fights in, and they're fighting for world titles, bro, because they're ready. Richard Torres just isn't ready. Let's be real about it. But he's not on that level yet.
But Nibs, like none of his pro fights tell me he's not ready though, because he's in with these guys and he gets them out in 1 or 2 rounds. So how am I supposed to know if he's ready or not?
That tells you he's not ready, because if he was, he'd be pressuring his promoter to give him somebody better.
I mean, okay.
Or if they thought he was better than that, right? Look at Jared Anderson. For all the shit we're giving him for taking the Bacoli fight and getting knocked out, he wanted that fight, right? He wanted his promotion to stop giving him the tomato cans, and he fucked around and found out it wasn't all sunshine up there, with the big boys. But you have to, again, you have to take your hat off to the boy for at least taking the step up.
Yeah.
Richard Torres, he seems comfortable fighting the tomato cans. Maybe he knows he's not ready. Maybe his team knows he's not ready. You look at guys like Andy Cruz, right? They're coming out the gate and they're fighting contenders. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to say that he couldn't do it. He's just not, and there's a reason for that.
I mean, 100%. And Felix, if you ever interview him, find out what's going on, man. Because Nibs is right. Does he want to fight these guys? Like, I honestly, his last few fights, I don't even tune in, so I don't even hear the post fight. But like, is there a desire on his end to fight better people, or is he one of those? Oh, I just fight who's in front of me. Because there's a difference, right? Like, you could say, hey, I just fight who they fight in front of me or put in front of me. But then there's also like, there's guys in the background that are like, no, we want this fight to happen. Spence and Crawford, right? I don't think either promoters wanted that fight to happen, but they kind of forced it. So, yeah, I don't know. Torres, management team, whatever. But shoot, Torres, Anderson, or even Torres, Bacoli, right? Like, Jesus says that fight would look worse, maybe, but I don't think that's out of Torres' league. Like, if you're an Olympian, I think he's ready for it. And then, he going up, he says, I think that's the German. I don't know how to say his name, but that's the versus Bacoli. That's the dude who beat Frank Sanchez, the dude that beat the undefeated Eastern European. That's a hell of a fight. Ajit versus Bacoli. Like, there's a lot of heavyweights that I think, and we're getting these fights. So I can't even say I hope that we get these fights because we're getting them. And that's a really good one. I think that dude's probably about 24, 25-0. And, Bacoli definitely earned a big money fight with his last performance.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing too is kind of what Nibs touched on about other Olympians. One thing historically with Olympians is they do move fast, but in the heavyweight division, they don't move as fast as the lighter weight divisions. Lomachenko, for example, was fighting for world title in the second pro fight. Would you ever see any heavyweight in boxing fight for a world title in their second pro fight? I think there's a difference when you get to that weight class too. I'm trying to give Richard Torres some slack is basically what I'm trying to do as well too. I don't know if it's working, but hopefully some of you guys listen.
No, hey, I feel you because I feel like heavyweights, and I got no science behind this, but like heavyweights is a power game, right? And Nibs said that. I think Nibs, you might have referred to it earlier, that old man strength. It's like, yeah, so maybe with experience, you can't just go in there and box. Like, because you're going to get hit by, ask Anderson what he got hit by, right? Like, this dude, if you look at him athletic-wise, he had no business in the ring with Jared Anderson. But, hey, I could land my punch, and I could take what you got.
I like it. It's no slack. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were all given, a lot of people, I wouldn't say us specifically, but there were a lot of people who were giving Deontay Wilder slack early on in his career because of the tomato cans and cab drivers he was fighting, right? But he came into the game late. He was literally learning on the job. And I think his bronze medal, people thought, oh, he won a bronze. He should be fighting, world champions out the gate. And it's like, nah, he still needs to learn how to fight. And I'm saying that's cool. But we weren't force-fed Deontay Wilder's first 20 fights. You know what I'm saying? We're being force-fed Torres because they're saying he's next. Okay, well, act like it then. You know what I mean? And if not, that's cool too. But I don't want to have to see every one of these cab driver fights. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100% Nibs. And that's like my big thing. And I think that's the thing that Top Rank does. And PBC did it to an extent too. But if you're showing me these fights, like if you're taking up the TV time, then you better be ready, right? Because, these guys take 3-4 years before they fight for a title. Hey, grow during those 3-4 years. I don't necessarily want to see it, though. I want to see when you're fighting in even fights. So
on TV or pay-per-view. Yeah. If like we do, we support local events. But I'll go to my local spot to watch it. But if I'm paying money, you better be it.
No, 100%. Like, put this on the YouTube opener where I could follow them, but I'm not paying for this. And that was one of my critiques on I think Mark Castro, and he's coming along, but we've been seeing him for like 2-3 years now, right? Time flies. I don't even know how long, but he was like on Canelo undercards, the main card that we're seeing. I'm like, bro, why am I seeing this guy right now? Right? Like, so I think there's definitely something to that, Nibs. Like, if I'm tuning into the main card and you're showing me this guy better be ready, right? Like, how long I got to watch this guy? I got to pay to watch this guy for 3-4 years? Nah, bro. Like, you better be ready before that. If I'm paying to see you, like, you at least better be in a competitive fight.
Yeah, and it's a great point. Like what you said, Nibs. When we go to support our local club show fighters, we know what we're doing. We're supporting them. We're going to a world title event. We want that level of talent and excitement there as well too. And maybe on the opener, a couple young guys, a couple of club fighters coming up that are in the area. But again, the way Top Rank just forces it down our throat. HBO used to do the same thing with their cards, except they would just show quick highlights of the fighters. If it was highlight worthy, you should check out this guy. You should check. That's how I first learned about Gary Russell Jr. He was on the card for some Showtime fighter, and they just showed highlight clips of him as a guy to check out in the future. And I was like, damn, this speedy fighter, looks good as hell, got quick knockouts. And for like 2 or 3 cards, he was just a highlight reel fighter. And that's what the Top Rank don't do. They just
I think that's another thing, Felix, is like if you're showing us those guys, then that's a showcase, and we better get a highlight reel knockout.
Yeah.
And a lot of these, Top Rank cards, I don't really want to throw out any names, but they're like going to decisions against early in their career. And, I get the true boxing fans. Oh, it's called boxing, not knockouts. It's like, bro, that's fine, but they're put in there to get knockouts, and that's, man, this is a bigger conversation. But when everyone says, oh, when a boxer loses, you shouldn't write him off. Well, that's not always the case, because he's being put in there with someone that he's supposed to knock out. So when he loses, that's why he's getting written off. Now, if he was in a competitive fight, I don't think records would matter as much, right? Like, if we're like, oh, this undefeated guy lost to this other undefeated guy, we'll see him again. But boxing, the setup is so crazy that, like, for 3-4 years, you only fight guys you're supposed to beat. That's the matchmaking of it. So, when you lose, that's why I'm writing you off, because you were only put in that fight to beat that guy. I mean, boxing's crazy. I think Top Rank does have the best matchmakers. I think that goes without saying. But, like Nib said, man, quit shoving this down our face. Like, we got eyes. We could see. Just the eye test shows us who's taking that next step. And we want to see competitive fights at the end of the day.
I will touch on this real quick as well, too. Speaking of Top Rank, I guess quick segue, we could talk about this because it's probably what we're going to do anyway. But Top Rank just announced this morning, actually a good fight. Sandy Ryan, Michaela Mayer, welterweight title fight, September 27th, main event at Madison Square Garden. On the undercard, which we'll talk about now, another guy who's we've been following his career for a while, Xander Zayas. It's one of those guys where we're just kind of like, okay, we're kind of over it already. We're kind of over watching your growth. Like, what's next? Also on the undercard, Shushu Carrington, which I'm still, he still puts on every single time. He's exciting no matter what. So I'm looking forward to that. But Xander, that's not one, like, again, give us the highlight reel, but you're being forced as a showcase. You're given these, highlights of you.
Oh, you're being put in showcase fights, but you're not showing.
Yeah, exactly. And they're billing him as a huge star, which if you've ever been around him at a Madison Square Garden card, that crowd is nuts. If he leaves New York, I don't think he's going to get that reception at all. But again, that's a decent card. Really quickly, before we keep talking about this last card, what are your guys' thoughts on that? And again, Xander Zayas, Michaela Mayer, Bruce Carrington, the top-ranked machine, doing its work again. I'll kick it to you first, Nibs.
I mean, look, Shoo puts on, so I am not worried about him at all. I think he puts on no matter who you put him in against. And I think he always comes to put on the show, right? He always comes to put on his best. He's not comfortable with just getting by. You know what I mean? So I like that about him. Michaela Mayer, I'm kind of over it at this point, bro. Like I need her to do something spectacular before I jump back on the train. The only reason she's on our pound for pound list is because we got two girls that are out due to inactivity. So that, hey, look, it is what it is. Xander Zayas, for me, I was a huge fan, bro. And then like you said, Ray, he was put in showcase fights and didn't show out. Like the thing is, bro, like if what Lubin say, you got to treat a bum like a bum. You were force fed some guys that weren't not necessarily bums, but they weren't on your level at all, or supposedly, and you had some rough nights. You know what I'm saying? Against guys you were supposed to just cruise right through. And it's just not happening, bro. And I think it's another one of those situations where again, he's not fixing the stuff he's bad at. He just keeps trying to rely on athleticism and power. What happens when that doesn't work, though? You know what I mean? You got to do more than that. You have to have more tools. I don't know, man. I don't know if he's capable or if it's just, maybe these guys are better than we think they are. I don't know. But it's just not happening for me. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of past that too until he shows me something.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, Shoo. I mean, he's kind of been showing that I have no complaints against him, right? Like he's been doing what he's supposed to do. Xander's that guy that they've kind of been showing us. This is the next great Puerto Rican. This is the next great Puerto Rican. And honestly, man, I think he's got to take that Edgar Berlanga route, right? Like take advantage of that, right? Berlanga was in a lot of these fights, and then he stepped up the competition and he started going decision. New promoter, got him a knockout, and they're cashing him out, right? Yeah, I mean, because you have to do it quick, right? Because he's going to lose eventually. So it's like, I think he got a stoppage this last fight, and they went from there to Canelo fight. Let's cash him out. We'll probably never hear from him again. And like Xander's a junior middleweight, right? Correct? If I'm wrong. 154. Hey, Xander, like, get one good win, and we could probably cash you out against Virgil Ortiz, bro. Like, that Mexican Puerto Rican thing. I just don't think he's it, man. And I don't think he's even drawing the, because the Puerto Ricans, that's a huge fan base, and they'll get behind their fighters. But I don't even know if he has that Puerto Rican support like a Trinidad or like a Cotto.
But they've been billing him. They've directly been saying he's the next those two guys.
100%. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, it worked for Berlanga, right? Like, but even Berlanga had to get a knockout before we could be like, oh, Edgar Berlanga's back, and we'll cash him out. Come on, Xander, just give me a good showing, bro, and maybe we can get you knocked out against Virgil Ortiz or something. But
I hate it when they do that, though, bro. I don't mean to cut you, Felix, but I'm just saying, bro, like, I got to say this. If you're going to be put in the air of Cotto and Trinidad, like if your name is going to be mentioned in the same breath as those two dudes, you got to show out, bro. Like there's no half-assing if we're saying you're the next Miguel Cotto or Felix Trinidad. Like,
yeah,
that's legendary Hall of Fame shit we're talking about, and he's nowhere near it. I don't get it.
Yeah, but that's just a fan base that's gonna buy fights at the end of the day, right? And we need and I'm even for it, right, bro? Like we need a Puerto Rican star. This Canelo Berlanga, that's not the best fight, but I'm gonna enjoy the event. I'm gonna enjoy Mexico versus Puerto Rico, and where Berlanga's coming off of a knockout, hey, okay, man, this dude could punch. But we just have yet to find that Puerto Rican star. We thought we had it, or I thought we had it in Matias. He goes and loses, and now it's kind of back to like, man, well, who's gonna step up, right? It's a talented country throughout boxing history, and I just think, promoters, hey, if we get a Puerto Rican, we could sell this and make money off of it. I just don't think we found that guy yet, and I don't think Berlanga's it. I don't think Xander's it, but I do think that each of them could probably give us one big fight if they just beat guys they're supposed to. So to me, I'll tune in. I might not even tune in, but I'm gonna check to see if Xander won, because I do think he will eventually be in a big fight. Not that he's great or gonna win, but because of where he's from and the label of the next great Puerto Rican, whatever, he's gonna be in a big fight, a big event, which is always interesting. As for Michaela Mayer, man, I think she's made the most out of her talent. And she keeps fighting whoever and keeps being in big fights. So I'm not mad at it at all. Respect to her, and hopefully she, she's kind of on a slide a little bit, but hopefully she could get a win because she's shown us that she wants to fight the best, and never mad at that.
Yeah, we'll see what she has. Sandy Ryan has. It's a good fight actually, because granted, Michaela's coming off 2 losses, with one win in between there. It's still, she's on the downward slide now for sure, and I think it's a perfect time to see, do you still have it, and what does Sandy Ryan have too? Because she's also coming off a controversial loss. I will say this about Zayas too. Well, for one, this is going to be his 6th defense of the NABO championship at junior middle. So he's had a good run there, but he's also fighting, the whole Puerto Rico, Mexico thing. Damian Sosa is a Mexican fighter from Mexico. So they can do a little build that up. Jesus M says Sosa may beat Zayas. Who knows? I'm not familiar with Damian Sosa at all. So we'll see what comes about, on that night. Again,
I'll tell you right now, Jesus, Top Rank hopes you're completely wrong, right? This is a fight for Xander to win. They're not. This isn't a fight that Top Rank's gonna make money off of. This is another. Come on, bro, just win so we can up your, status
record a little bit.
Get you a bigger fight, yeah.
And now with the, Shushu, we've all said it. He's going to put on, and I think he's only getting better with each fight. And he's one who's given us those highlight reels. That's one thing I would like to see from Xander Zayas. If he's going to be billed as the next great Puerto Rican fighter, give us some highlight reels. Even the knockout victories that he does have. Do you guys remember him? No, none of them are knockouts. We could talk about Shushu's knockouts. He's got some epic ones already in his short career. There's certain fighters who have that, and Xander he doesn't. Will it change? Who knows? We'll see. But think we're ready to talk about the question. Is
the Eminem concert? Or are we skipping over that?
Do we need to talk about the Eminem concert?
No, let's go to the fight. But that was kind of wild, bro. I actually wasn't mad at the concert, but their template for big cards is wild to me.
I know, man. Shout out to His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh.
No, we ain't gonna do that, bro. I ain't gonna let you do that,
bro. We have to.
No, bro. I saw that, dude.
Thank you.
I saw everybody. It was embarrassing, bro. Can we start there?
Well, hey, we'll start there. Shout out His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh.
No, is he paying you? Because you better be getting a check if something. Because the way they're treating this guy, come on, man. Have some self-respect. I'm talking to WBC, Mauricio Solomon, Oscar De La Hoya, Eddie Hearn. Come on, man. That's another man in front of you, and these guys are like little puppy dogs, bro. I don't get it. I get that's money, a paycheck, But for them to like completely like bow down and act like this dude's the greatest guy on the planet, like it's a little bit sickening. Like, and we're just gonna throw that dude into the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. Like, what's the cost of entrance for that, right? Because he hasn't done anything. Like, has he even had a fight in Nevada, or did he just cut a check? Like, just keep it real. All these guys, WBC, Hurd, De La Hoya, everybody, Devin Haney, like trying to get as close to him as he can. Like, come on, man, just put your price tag as a jersey number on your chest or whatever, because that whole display that was sickening, bro. It is disgusting.
I still don't understand the Hall of Fame thing. Like, the Hall of Fame thing is supposed to be a career award. These motherfuckers had what, 10 cards, and we're putting them in the Hall of Fame,
and not one in Nevada. Did we even have a Nevada fighter on there? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I will say that's a little absurd. That's crazy to me,
bro. The whole thing's absurd. This card in BMO Stadium, bro. That place was brought about 3/4 full, and they kept telling us this was a sellout. His Excellency, like, bro. First off, I'm not calling anybody His Excellency. Like, at least face to face. I mean, hey, Turkey, whatever you, bro, you could throw a figure at me. I can look at it, but I'm not just walking up to you and saying, "Hey, Your Excellency," like, because you put on fights. Nah, we ain't doing that.
Hey, it is an interesting thing though, because when you boil it down, when you break it down, I don't know, honestly, and this is us just talking. We're not behind the scenes. We don't know what goes on or how much involvement he does. But what it seems like is, all he has the big bank. Like Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya, I'll never work with him. What about, for X amount of money? I'll consider it. Boom, there he is. He's got the bankroll, so he's making it happen. How much work and effort is actually being put in on his side? Who knows? So to be a Hall of Famer now, that's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, it's crazy to me. And I like you said, I don't know anything, but to me, it looks like this dude's just a super fan with super money, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I want to watch this." And then can we have Eminem perform? And then Eminem sits by his side, like, "Come on, M. I know you don't want to be sitting there right there, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure you want to be with your friends." But this dude wants to look. It's just crazy. To
all
me,
is let's just be happy that Turkey is a fan of combat sports, because he's giving us the best UFC, WWE, and boxing content out there right now, and he's investing heavily in it. Let's just be happy for that.
Oh, hey, we could be happy for it, but I just don't.
Of like fucking soccer or something. Who wants to watch that?
No, but he is too. He has a league, and Cristiano Ronaldo. That's why Cristiano Ronaldo is at those Saudi fights, because he plays in Saudi, and I'm sure he's getting a check. But like, come on, man. So I guess everybody.
Too.
He's what's it? Oh, well, look, Nib, that's the big thing right there for me, right? Because, and I'm gonna go back to the WBC, right? WBC condemned Ryan Garcia, rightfully so, right? Hey, they want to talk ethics and this and that, but then you're gonna be presenting Turkey with awards and that, like come on, like, I don't want to get into everything they do, but there's like some crazy reports about Turkey out there.
Yeah,
so if you're gonna hold this guy to some ethical standards, what's the difference here? Because he could provide you with a lot of money. I don't know, man. Like, they always say, like, there's two things you shouldn't talk about, like politics and religion. But when you're mixing and you're going to condemn one guy for something, but then, like, bow down to another guy because he could give you something that you want, it's just a crazy situation. I thought this card was crazy. Like, I really enjoyed it as a fan. But, just them saying, no, it's a sellout card, and them just pushing that, like, kind of propaganda, bro. Oh, it's sellout card, the best ever. And, man, it's crazy, bro. I don't really understand.
They should have called it a bought out card, because let's be real. Half of the celebrities that were there were probably paid, right? Eminem got a fat ass check because he didn't look comfortable at all. like Ray that's sitting next to the Sheik. And then
And
but
really,
all those celebrities, like were those. So I start thinking like, oh, are these just people that this dude wants to see in person and paid them to be there? Like honestly, like is that what it is? Like
let's be really clear. As much as I like Bud, he's not that big of a draw. You know what I'm saying? To get those kind of stars who are they're on fringe boxing fans as it is, right? You might catch them at a Tank fight. You might catch them at Canelo, right? You might catch them at Usyk Fury 2 because of the event. But coming out to see Bud, okay, you know what I mean? Let's be real clear what that is. That aside, I mean the ego stroking, pause, and the ass kissing aside, it was a good card. It was a great card. It was a great card. And to be honest with you, I wasn't mad at the concert. Like I wasn't mad at Eminem coming out. I was like, okay, this is an event they put on. It was entertaining, but it was almost ruined by, like you said, we're talking about somebody who's a horrible person who just so happens to have what it seems like an unlimited amount of money. He's got resources from places that we can't speak about, if we want to stay alive, right? That's what we're talking about. So it comes into question, like, again, like you said, you're banning Ryan Garcia, you're banning these people who have or are using, steroids and this, that, and the third, as you should. But we're giving, Hall of Fame awards and championship belts to a dude because he's got a shitload of money. I mean, if that's the case, you know what I mean? Get some of these warlords in here and start stroking them too.
Yeah, I mean, when the golf thing came up, you mentioned Live Golf, which is Saudi. I don't know if that's tied directly to Turkey, whatever. But all the talk was like, oh, this is blood money. These guys are taking blood money. Where does this Saudi money come from? And they were like everything against it. But then now it's still Saudi money, and you're on camera like bowing down, almost literally bowing down to this dude, right? It's like Oscar and like I heard, I think it was just that presentation. I think Roberto Duran was there, which, come on, that's my guy. I hate to see, but it's like, what's the difference? Like, if you say, hey, this is boxing and this is money and I don't care about anything, I'm all for it. But the big thing for me was the WBC, right? Like you claim to be ethical, and you've banned Russia because of, right? They didn't let Russians fight for world titles because of the Ukraine conflict, but you're fine with the Saudi money, right? I guess whatever. We're not gonna look into where that money comes from or whatever because you're getting it. So hey, it's all good. And that's just kind of me. Like, just don't be a hypocrite, man. Like, if they want to say, like, bro, hey, someone's finally putting money into this, cool. But to praise this guy on U.S. soil and the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame, putting him in the Hall of Fame when I don't know if there's any ties to Nevada. It's like, come on, man. Like, so you guys just sell that regardless. Like, let's put Felix in the Hall of Fame. How much is it going to cost? We probably don't got it, but hey, it's worth talking if that's all it takes.
It's crazy because a couple years ago, I was a little bit longer than that, like 10. I remember 10, 15 years ago, there was some Nigerian warlord who was interested in doing the same shit that this guy's doing, right? And they're like, no, we don't want you. Was his check not big enough? Like, I'm trying to figure out what the difference is now. Why is it okay?
Were they stuck
now?
Over there or something? Remember that, Felix?
I remember that.
Man. Shoot,
I can't remember the dude's name or what it was, but it was like this.
She
really big
fought Clarissa Mari Cornejo.
Oh yeah.
She was supposed to have like a championship fight, and then they were like all stuck in a hotel or something. So,
oh yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, maybe that check did clear. Your checks got to clear for us to approve of it. But I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like I said, I appreciate these fights, but let's not be hypocrites now.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Or let's call it for what it is. WBC
is, I mean, they've made questionable decisions. They're never really consistent. Things change with them, but often. And I think boxing fans know what it is with the WBC. They still get a lot of respect because of the great champions who have held their title, and I think in that regard, yeah, they are who they are, and we definitely love them for that. But as a company, as a corporation, definitely some questionable decisions being made without a doubt. It's
Just going back to the car, the giving away a car. I don't even know what that was about, bro. I think that's a Saudi company too, Lucid. It was crazy to see that happen. It just looked like a whole propaganda event, really. Even though we were getting good fights, you could see like something bigger is going on, and everyone was just like maybe happy to get their money, which maybe they deserve. But it's just like I said, if you're gonna play the ethics game for some people, then let's play it for him too. And like I said, you could go read up. I've read a little bit. I'm not completely up, so I don't want to really speak on it. But there's some crazy allegations and stuff going on with Turkey. And if you're gonna ban Ryan for saying certain words and saying things, but then praise this guy and give him trophy, it's like, come on.
Yeah. We're not condoning Ryan or Turkey, but no. We're saying, hey, WBC, call it down the middle. Be fair. Be consistent.
I'm just an observer.
Yeah, that's it. We're just calling it like it is. Speaking of calling it like it is Bud a dud? We've said so many times. Who should
you want to go first, Nibs, or you want to respond?
Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments. Is Terrence Bud Crawford, is Bud a dud? By that we mean, is he boring? Is he really that guy? He showed us he was when he beat Errol Spence. Before that, it was questionable. Now after this, it's questionable again. Is Bud a dud? Let us know in the comments what you guys think. I'll go ahead and kick it to Ray
No, let Ray go.
I'll say this. I'll say my part first because I'll keep it as fair as possible. For everybody who has a pound for pound list, there's no reason why Terrence Crawford shouldn't be top 5 or even top 3. For me, he's number 2, anyway, number 1, and it's close. But still, either way, Terrence Crawford is without a doubt in everybody, or should be in everybody's top 5 or top 3 pound for pound list. Is a great fighter, great skill, does everything almost perfect. But he's boring. He's boring to watch. He's not exciting. He doesn't have any pre-fight build ever. I can't think of any time at a press conference or anything that's ever made me interested and want to see him fight. He doesn't bring a style. It's weird. He's not a mover like people would call Floyd Mayweather a runner. I would really call him a runner. Crawford's not like that. He's not like Andre Ward in that sense either. But there's still something about him that you're like, I'm not too interested in watching this fight. It's nothing that's gonna really get me excited to invite everybody over and be like, oh, we have to watch Terrence Crawford. He doesn't have that Tank excitement. I don't care who Tank's fighting. People are gonna tune in. Crawford doesn't really have that, but he does everything by the book. He does it perfectly well. He's not marketable in that regard to me. He's kind of vanilla, but again, when you're chasing greatness, you don't need to have all that. He's going to accomplish everything he wants to in the sport, without a doubt. He'll probably become undisputed again at 154, maybe. Who knows? But he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time, and he's probably going to retire undefeated. I can see that happening. I really can't see anybody beating him unless he does move up to fight Canelo. I don't think that's a good move there, but still. He's boring. That's all, and then I'll go to kick it to Ray now.
I mean, Terrence Crawford, right? I don't think anybody watched this fight this past weekend and said that's one of the top 5 guys in the world. I mean, I don't even think they would say that he's one of the top 10 guys in the world. Honestly, I don't think he is. I've always said I thought he was a product of matchmaking. I had to give him his props when he beat Errol Spence. But do we think that was Errol Spence? Like, was that something was wrong with Errol Spence, bro? And I think this fight showed it, man. Like Crawford, for all that, I kind of was starting to get hyped for Crawford, right? Because he does get his knockouts or whatever, and he's on that. I get active, bro. I didn't see no activity. Like I thought he lost the fight. I'm not mad about it if it's a draw or whatever, but he lost in my mind to some guy that had no business being in the ring with them. And they say, oh, he was awkward. He was herky jerky, whatever. Bro, what? Like Crawford didn't want any of that smoke. And when Crawford stepped up, he got popped in the mouth. I just don't think – I think he's, he beat guys that were smaller than him. And like I said, just a product of matchmaking. So I don't have Crawford in my top 10 anymore. I thought he lost to – I still don't even know this guy's name. What's his name? Madrimov? Yeah. Like, he didn't beat that guy. And I think it was a humbling experience, right? Because after the fight, I don't think Crawford really wants to see Canelo. I think that would end worse than Canelo Amir Khan. Because, people say, oh, no, but Madrimov was awkward. It's like, bro, he was right there in front of Crawford. Like, isn't that what Crawford wants? Someone right there in front of him? Why didn't Crawford piece him up? Because every time Crawford threw, he got hit with the right hand that had him hurt. So what does Crawford do? I mean, I don't think he becomes undisputed at all, Felix. I don't think he beats Tim Tszyu. I don't think he beats Virgil Ortiz. I don't think he beats Erickson Lubin. I think, Jesus Ramos. I think all those guys put it on him. I don't think Madrimov, he has a belt, but I don't think he's one of the best in the division. So is Bud a dud? Yeah, bro. He's just not that guy to me. He was a product of matchmaking. And that's where, I guess, why do you hate Bud Crawford? It's because, to me, he's on the level of Keith Thurman. This is that level I put him, right? Like Keith Thurman, great guys. Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Errol Spence. I think he's in that level, and they try to present him as like an all-time great. I just don't think he is. So that's my take on it.
All right, Nibs.
We got the Bud Venger right here. Go to work.
Actually, I'll say this too. I like the way Dakota mentioned it yesterday on the recap show when he was talking about Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. He said Errol Spence coming off 2 car crashes was a great way to talk about Bud's opponent, because what was left of Spence at the time that they fought.
That's you know what, and that's not Bud's fault, right? Bud got in the ring, he didn't know, but no one could watch that fight and say that was the Errol Spence that we'd seen in any prior fights. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Who did you guys pick in that fight, by the way?
Go ahead.
Both of you. I just want to point that out. Okay.
Doesn't matter. Why bring
who was the only person who picked the guy who won? Okay, just
go ahead, Nibs.
I mean, look, I respect both of you guys. You're like brothers to me. However, I love it when I'm right and you're wrong. In this case, you're both wrong. Felix tried to clean his shit up a little bit, but we know what it is. Look, the last questionable opponent on Bud's resume was in 2016 when he fought Hank Lundy. That's the last time you can go over his resume and go, okay, that guy was trash. Everybody else.
Give me the good win. Give me the good wins, Nibs. I'm here for it. Give me the good wins.
Amir Khan, Kell Brook, Sean Porter, David Evanesian, Errol Spence.
Amir Khan.
We can just give you those.
That was
Amir Khan. Look, you can say what you want to about Amir Khan, but he was still beating guys that everybody said that should beat him because he got a glass chin. So, Amir Khan is a legit person on your resume. It's not like that's a trash win.
This is post Canelo Amir Khan, right?
It is.
Okay.
Still Amir Khan, goddammit.
His soul was gone, but I guess he was still Amir Khan.
We can build in excuses all we want to.
That's why we love boxing, bro. That's why we love boxing.
Then we say he's boring. Okay. He was on an 11 knockout streak before this fight. the guy that everybody said he was gonna dog walk him, he reversed that. You know what I mean? And ended up beating the dog shit out of Spence. It wasn't a one punch knockout. He dog walked Errol Spence, no matter what you want to call it, no matter what reason Errol Spence has. And Errol Spence didn't even give an excuse, right? Errol Spence said, "Hey, look, it is what it is. I got into the ring and got beat." So if Errol Spence doesn't have a built-in excuse, we shouldn't give him one.
I got eyes though, Nick. I got eyes, and they showed me that wasn't the same guy.
I get it, and I said that shit too. I was like, "Yo, what?" Right before the bell rang, I was like, "Is he drunk, like, or high? Like, what the fuck is going on with Errol?" You know what I mean? But he couldn't get out of the way. But he's right. If something was wrong with him and he knew it, he shouldn't have fucking got in the ring and fought in the first place. You know what I mean? That's on you. I think Madrimov doesn't get the respect that he should because he's got 10 wins. But that's crazy because he's a world champion with 10 wins. You know what I mean? We just got done talking about all these other guys who were
who did he beat for that belt, Nibs? Tell me that. Who did he beat? Because I thought Charlo was undisputed. Who did Madrimov beat?
Here's the point I'm making. 10 wins in, he gets a strap. All these other guys we just got done talking about being force-fed down our throats. If you put any of them in the ring for a belt tomorrow, I'm almost willing to bet the house they lose. Period. Right? Madrimov got one. He does have a style that is going to give just about anybody some problems. He's probably not going to nobody's going to look good against him, whether they win or not. And let's not forget, Bud started at 135. Going up to 154 ain't easy, bro. You know what I'm saying? I think he's crazy for wanting to fight Canelo, to be honest with you. I don't know anybody who should want that smoke unless your name is Bibble or better be. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're at the 175 division, I don't know anybody who should want smoke with Canelo at this point because he's proven he can walk through just about anybody's punches. Jaime Munguia has lead in both hands. He walked through his punches like they weren't shit. So, if Bud wants to go up to 168 and get a paycheck, I'm not mad at him for it, but it's not going to go like he thinks it is. But I got to give all the respect to Bud. He's 4-division champion. He's beaten people that, again, a lot of times people pick against him. I don't know what the hate is, but I love it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest Bud fan either. But
did
I
he
got to put.
Did he beat Madrimov?
I thought it was a draw. To be honest with you, if I'm keeping it a buck, I thought it was a draw. I could see 7-5 either way. Because there were a shit ton of close rounds. So if they'd have said 7-5 Madrimov, I wouldn't have been mad at it. So I was good with a draw or 7-5 either way, to be honest with you. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm with that too.
But I do think 154 is because there's some killers at 154, not just like, skill wise, but there's some bangers at 154, bro. You know what I mean? Some dudes that can put you out quick. So I don't know if Bud should stay at 154. I think he should go back down to 147.
Hey, we are Spence fans, but we're keeping it real. We're just going down the line here.
Yeah, and I'm just saying. I guess my the Crawford is like, man, I thought he picked up vacant belts at 140, right? That was right when Danny Swift left, and then now he becomes undisputed or whatever. And then he beat one guy in Spence at 47. And then now he beat, I don't know who Madrimov beat for the title. Like, wasn't Charlo undisputed? So he obviously picked up a vacant belt or beat someone for a vacant belt. And it's like, so now you're putting him in with like all-time greats, 4-division champs. I just don't think he's that. That's my whole thing. I just don't. I think he's kind of been handed all these his accolades, and that's kind of what I don't respect.
I'm with you, and I'm not going to say handed because he worked hard for it, obviously, right? He was not handed anything, but he was definitely the right place at the right time. When you think of, if I say somebody's an undisputed champion, then you think automatically, well, they picked up titles from all these dudes. Crawford's easily picked up belts. He was in a position to easily pick up all those titles at once. Did he ever defend it? No. You know what I mean? He was the undisputed. Look at Inoue. Inoue's undisputed champion, and he's defending that throne against top guys still.
Bro, look at Canelo. That's who we're talking about. Like,
yeah,
Canelo went through all. He won each belt.
Yeah, and again, not taking anything away from Crawford, because up until that point, we thought Spence was that dude, and he just destroyed him. I mean, that was still to this day one of the best performances in boxing ever. But when I say I'm not excited when I see Tanks fighting somebody. Like, damn, I want to go. As a fan, I want to go. If I see, back in the day, Mike Tyson's fighting, I want to go. Roy Jones fighting, I want to be there. You don't really see that with Crawford. It's not that same level of excitement. We were talking about highlight reels earlier. I have more memories of Shushu's highlight reels than I do Crawford's highlight reels. I guess
my question is what would it take, given everything he's accomplished right up to this point? What would it take for you guys to say, "Oh, okay, he's the man. He's legit"?
For me, I'll let Ray go because he's gonna throw some crazy shit out. But I'm gonna say
no. I'm not crazy. If he's campaigning at 54, beat some champions.
Yeah,
there's enough guys there. I think all the belts are spread apart. But also, I don't think he's gonna be. I don't think he's in the game to do that. Like, I think now he's just kind of like, he was talking Canelo before the fight. I don't think he mentions Canelo after, honestly. Like, bro, your power didn't go up to 154. You were kind of even, for telling Shakur, let your hands go. He was a little gun shy at times. And yeah, I think Canelo's all bad for him. He goes up and beats Canelo.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
I think a little bit of that is the fact that this was his first fight at 154. I think it was, hey, let me see if I can take these punches from at that division.
And did you think he could? In your mind, do you think he thinks I can? Because I don't think so. I thought he got hit with some straight right hands that he was like, oh shoot, what is going? This is different.
I think he could. I think he could beat a Lubin. I think he could beat, to be honest with you, I think there are a handful of guys at 154 he can beat. However, the top end of the guys like maybe Charlo, Fundora, Zoo. I don't know if I want to see him in there with those guys. You know what I mean? Because it'd be a hard night for anybody, really.
We talked about my boy Turkey, and he said if Canelo doesn't take the fight, which I think Crawford's going to say, "Hey, bro, pull that offer." I don't think he wants anything to do with Canelo. But Turkey said that they have an offer out to Vergil Ortiz. Now, Vergil Ortiz fights this weekend, right, or next weekend or something.
Yeah,
but I don't think Crawford stands a chance with Vergil Ortiz, bro.
I see
the way that. Go ahead.
Well, Nibs was gonna say, what's it gonna take? I don't think so. Again, I don't take anything away from Crawford. I give him all his props. I just think he's just dull. He's very flat. But I will still be like hella impressed, and I will have nothing but praise like forever if he does clear out 154. If he does do that, it's a tough task, and I don't think he even really has to, and I don't think he should have to try to prove a point to anybody really. But from there, I'd be like, yo, that dude, call him what he is, boring, whatever, but that was that dude at the end of the day, if that's how his career ended.
I guess that's where me and you kind of differ. I don't think he's necessarily boring. I kind of respect his I get active, and he goes for it and knocks people out. It's just I think you're doing that against guys that kind of stood no chance. You were bigger than, against Sean Porter, he was kind of even maybe losing that fight. That's why I kind of put him on that level. But I respect that was the dog in him, right? Like, I got to go get this.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he does that. Our boy Joshua Walls right there, he listed a group. I don't know if he beats any of those guys. If he cleans out 154, those names that he listed, all right, man. Hey, you did your thing because that's an all timer.
I think of those names that
I'm not saying he. Go ahead.
I think he beats Lubin. I think he beats Fundora. I'm not saying he loses or wins against Virgil Ortiz and Tim Tszyu, but those are two fights I would like to see because to me those are the guys there. And if he beats them as dominant as he did with Spence, or even has a great performance against guys, for sure.
Joshua's getting active, right? Like Crawford likes to get active. Now Joshua's getting active. Joshua, what's his best win? What's Crawford's best win?
That's easy. That's Errol Spence. I'll let Joshua answer. It's Errol Spence.
But yeah, but it's like looking at Errol that fought. You can't tell me that was Errol Spence, bro.
Yeah,
you can't.
I mean, before Errol,
what is
Sean Porter? You know what I mean?
A lot of people beat him. Gamboa, maybe. Like that's what I'm saying. Like this dude's
he knocked out Kell Brook, but Errol Spence beat Brook too. So it's like,
yeah, I think Triple G had already like shattered his face, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey, Joshua, what's his biggest win though? I want to know.
And see, that's been my thing too. Is like he was beating damaged goods from these guys, like Amir Khan. Come on, really? Cal Brook, the one-eyed.
All these guys we're mentioning were like stopped in devastating fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
Right before Crawford got them.
Exactly. They were damaged goods. The Ferrari took out Spence.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's two wrecked, right?
So, and that's been why I've been kind of critical. Like, but again, I still, from what I see, like you said, we see it. He still is that dude, and like, bro, his jab, fucking nuts. Like that jab is like a steel pipe going out there, which is weird because he didn't really use it that much against Madrimov. I'm wondering if it was just, when you have somebody with that style that Madrimov had, you would think he would just kind of revert to that and kind of stick to his jab all night, but he didn't. He looked like throughout that fight, it looked like he was trying to figure him out the entire time and never really did. So he kind of dug down and brought that dog out and just kind of brawled a little bit when he had to. But it never seemed like he really figured out that style of Madrimov at any point during that fight. He just
and that's a guy with 10 fights, right? What do we have? 10 fights?
Yeah.
10, 11. Well, 11. He was 10-0-1. But I mean, of the 4 champs at 54, he beat one of them, Madrimov. Backrum's got 1 belt, and Fedora's got the other 2. So if he went in there and beat Fundora, would you say okay?
I pick him to beat Fundora. Honestly, I think Fundora is as nice as they come. He's a really nice guy, but I will definitely say he was also in the right place at the right time. Had that cut not happened on Tim Tszyu's head, we'd be seeing. I mean, we would have saw Tim Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz this last weekend, but Tim Tszyu would have. He definitely would have. He was on his way to win that fight. I think Fundora, it's one of those guys that you hate to say anything bad. I'm not saying anything bad about him. I just don't think he would have beaten Tim Tszyu, and I don't think he'll beat Terrence Crawford at all.
Okay, so let's say he goes back down and beats Boots, does that give him any credit?
Nibs, he's not doing that, Nibs.
But I'm saying like
I'm not even big on Boots like that.
I would respect the hell out of that because he doesn't have to do that, and I would respect the hell out of that if he does that.
I mean, I'm not even big on Boots like that, but I don't think Crawford's doing that. Like this Madrimov guy, I just looked up. He had a draw with Mike Soro. Like, come on, bro.
After he beat him.
Yeah, you had a draw with him, and that dude's he's herky jerky. Crawford can't figure him out. It's like, no, man. Like, look at Crawford's resume. He's
Hey, let's talk Bud and Boots real quick because that's an interesting one that I just kind of forgot about because we're at 154. They did cross paths real quick at the Terrence Crawford entrance or whatever. That's a fight that everybody's been wanting. Terrence Crawford, he went on record and saying from this point going forward, he's all about the big fights now. He's done what he needs to do in the sport of boxing, and he just wants the money, which is why he was going after Canelo. Then he fights Madrimov, whatever, gets the title there. Why not stay around and fight Boots? That would, I would add to your legacy, and that was going to be a big paycheck. With that being said, he did have a harder than expected time with Majimov. If he went back down to welterweight, fought Boots, how do you guys see that fight playing out? I'll go ahead and let you go first, Ray.
I'm never a fan of guys campaigning at a weight division and then going down. I think they lose some. Canelo's kind of the only one that I've seen do it. And I think that's because he was already small. He went to 175 and he was able to come back down to 68. Where Crawford's a bigger guy, I don't think he can make 154 and then go back down to 147, especially being older in age. So I think I would just kind of pick Boots just off youth and Crawford not being 100%.
So let's say that happened in that scenario. They fight.
If I'm Crawford, I say, hey, come up to 54.
Well, let's say that happens. Let's say that does happen. They fight at 147. Crawford trying to get his belts back, and Boots wins. With that being said, would you give Boots credit for being Crawford at that time, or no, because of what you just mentioned?
I would look at it like, oh, that's kind of how boxing goes, right? Like the guy drops back down, and now the young guy beats him. The Andre Ward, Chad Dawson, is that? Remember Chad Dawson dropped? He was the 175 champ and dropped down, and he looked like a shell of himself.
Roy Jones, Antonio Tarver.
Yeah, I would kind of look at it that. So it would be a big win for Boots, and I think it boosts Boots. And he'd probably be one of the guys for the next 5 years that we're watching. But I don't think that's a good move for Crawford.
What about you, Nibs?
I got a Crawford fight, though. After this, I'll tell you what Crawford should do for Crawford. All right.
If I'm managing Bud, I'm telling him not to take that fight next. I think he should have a fight, maybe come back down and maybe fight a guy like Barrios or something like that to get his WBC belt back or some shit like that. I don't know. But, if you're going to come back down, because let's face it, Bud's kind of on the retirement tour at this point, right? He's just getting checks. So if you're going to come back because Boots is a big payday, I don't think it's a close fight, and I think Bud whoops the shit out of Boots because I just don't think Boots has as many tools in his arsenal as Bud does. You alluded to it. Bud can do everything well, right? And he does take. I'll say this. I think he does take his training and his weight a lot more serious than some of these other guys, right? That they're in it just to get these paychecks. And Boots has a problem with people who can really box. You know what I mean? Like he really does. And Bud hits just as hard, if not harder, than Boots does. It's, and Bud's got a chin. So it's not going to be a whitewash on Boots' end. And I really don't think Boots really wants them kind of problems. I think Terrence will come back and shut it down if I'm being 1,000% honest with you. And I honestly, for me, I would have more respect for him if he stayed at 154 and fought one of the other champs or Charlo or, went up and fought Bud at this point because you're daring to be great. I think 147, I really don't think there's anybody at 147 that gives Bud any issues.
So this is my take right here. This is if I'm Crawford and I want to go back to 47 because, my power didn't really come up with me. I was getting kind of hit harder than I thought. I think the biggest fight for him, a fight that I would want to see, that's why I say it's big, is him and Teofimo. And I think that's a winnable fight, too, for Crawford just because of his size. He'll be bigger. But Teofimo is also, kind of rises to the occasion. I think they could really sell that. I think that's a really good fight for him, and not having to fight Boots.
That would be
also fire. Yeah, and I think, because what we've seen Teofimo do in big fights, I think we got to give him a chance. For Crawford, if he's just looking for kind of legacy, let me kind of just stack on these multiple weight classes. Bro, you got to fight. You got to hope Danny Garcia beats Erislandy Lara, and then you go up to 160 and you fight Danny Garcia.
I was just about to say that. I'm mad
because,
that you said that.
Yeah, because that's the fight, right? Like he was at 140 right before you got to 140. you gotta in the press conference. Hopefully, you would thank him for relinquishing all those belts that you were able to pick up. But those were Danny Garcia's belts, and then he went to 47. And you're kind of following him. So now, if Danny Garcia beats Erislandy Lara, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm hoping that happens. I think that's Terrence Crawford's fight. 160. Now you're a champion in 5 divisions, and I think that's an even fight.
I was just about to say that, and like you want to talk about legacy. Not too many guys can say they were lightweight, welterweight, and middleweight champions of the world, and that's a strategy right there that I think Crawford should chase.
I think so.
Completely honest, I think that's the move. If you ask me, I feel like he might be on the retirement tour, but I feel like there's one more super fight left in him. I don't know who it's going to be against. It's kind of, and it's, I say that I'm not sure who it's going to be against because as much as I've said, he's boring, he's dull. There's nobody really at his star level right now to build that super fight. So, his dance partner's got to build it up first. I think until then, that's the move for Crawford is to go after the winner of Danny Garcia and Erislandy Lara and grab that title because from then he's got, he's made history. He can go back down to 154 at that point. I mean, he don't even have to make the 160.
I think Crawford's close to retirement, and I'm not mad at it, right? And it's kind of like he doesn't even need to he's got Turkey in his pocket or whatever. He's got that backing, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a fight, he wants to see the money's going to be there, right? Like the fans, we really don't matter, right? Because most money will come from the fans. Well, no, he has someone who's going to provide the finances. So I think 160 is a sellable fight. I'm sure Turkey would be on board. And if he stays at 54, and this is me, if I'm Crawford, I'm older, I've kind of won all these championships. I don't really want to fight Virgil Ortiz, right? I think the fight at 154 is probably a Charlo. Because, they have the history, they had gotten into it. And I think that'd be a good fight. Fight Charlo. I don't think he wants to, and I don't think he needs to fight any of those young lions. So 47, I'd go Teofimo. I'd stay away from Boots. 54, I'd tell Charlo to make it happen. And 60, I want to see him and Danny Garcia because, they've kind of always just been missing each other. And I think that's probably the biggest fight.
And like Joshua Wall says here, they've had history in the amateurs. And we've alluded to it many times. Danny Garcia is one of the most underrated fighters. When you talk about getting respect.
Bro, he's done everything Crawford's done.
Exactly. And he's
I guess not at 35, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Danny, I mean, he's made, he looks limited sometimes in the skill, but he's really not. He's very underrated. And that would be a good fight, man. I think
we get Angel and Bomac going at it. Like,
oh yeah, easily. That would be fun.
Hey, Danny Garcia's done one more thing that Bud hasn't lost. Look, Danny Garcia hasn't fought in like 2-3 damn years, right? Erislandy Lara has been active. Like, let's be real clear. Erislandy Lara ain't no pushover. You know what I mean? I know he's 40 fucking years old, but he seems to be getting better, like, which is crazy.
Yeah. Right? That was my other thing I was going to point out.
Most guys you see them, they hit that 40-year-old wall, and it's. Well, I don't know what's going on with Erislandy Lara, but is he drinking the fountain of youth or what's going on? But that's not an easy fight either.
If Lara does Swift dirty, I think Lara and Crawford's a fight, bro. Like, because those are both, they're not like too big, right? I think 54, you might have said it, Nibs, like 54 or someone in the comments was the ceiling for Bud. That's where Lara started. So I don't think that size difference would be. And maybe that risk of let me go up another five division champ. So shoot, winner of Lara Garcia, I think would be a good match for Crawford. I really don't think he's. Man, I just think Virgil Ortiz is too hungry, too young. That I don't know if Crawford really wants to be in that type of battle. I mean, he probably will, right? Like, all this, I'm talking trash or whatever. Crawford has shown, if anything, he wants to fight and he's down to fight. Which as boxing fans, yeah, that's what we want to see, right? But I just think, hey, do I fight Virgil Ortiz for nothing? Like that does nothing for his legacy, or do I fight Lara or Swift for a 5th division championship?
I think that's the move right there, man. And again, I was just about to say, Bud and Lara is going to be a hell of an exciting fight. Like it would be Lara was at one point a boring fighter himself and a mover, a runner, but in the late stage of his career, he's really just sat down.
He lost a step and he has to be there.
Yeah, his legs aren't there the way they used to, and now he's forced to have to get in there and fight, and he's putting out these highlight reel knockouts now. Him and Crawford would be a hell of a fun fight. Lara is old, but he's not an old fighter, and that would be fun. And again, I would favor Bud in that fight. A little too damaging. His power is real. That would be a hell of a fun fight. I think without a doubt that's the move, and I would like to see that for Crawford without a doubt for sure. That'll be fun, man. And talk about legacy.
And it's almost on the same schedule, right? That's happening in September.
Right.
You know, but I don't know. That's just a pipe dream, I guess. But that's what I would do.
That's gonna be a fun one.
A hell of a fight, either one. Like you guys said, hell of a fight. You know what I mean? Winner of. I think, to be honest with you, at 160, that's probably the only fight I'd want to see Bud at. Period. You know what I mean? Is either one of those guys. So you make a good point, Ray. Like the Garcia fight would be the bigger of the two fights. Money wise. You know what I'm saying? Because everything you said with him following, Annie and all that. But Erislandy Lara, I mean, he's like, for us fight fans, we know what he's capable of. So that'd be a huge fight. Plus, again, for Bud, getting a belt at, another weight division. And I honestly think the Lara Bud fight would be a better competition fight. Like, I think that would give us like just one of those fights we'd be talking about for a while.
Yeah.
I can't even say that. I think both of them. I think if he fights Garcia or Lara, I think, man, that shit goes down in the record books, bro.
Yeah, and like, let's not forget, like, that's gonna be on a Canelo card, Mexican Independence Day weekend. There's a lot of eyes on that. So, if Lara does, like I said, if Lara does Swift dirty, bro, that's gonna be everywhere. Everyone's gonna know about that. So yeah, winner of, I'd take that fight for Crawford. I don't think Crawford needs to be battling these young dogs. As for Joshua, I don't know if he deserves it. I think the promoter's cashing him out. He did what he had to do. Got all his knockouts coming off a knockout. I think this is a cash out fight. Like, hey, we can sell it, get you in there, and make our money back. But yeah, I don't think he stands a chance.
When it comes to deserve, I don't know if Berlanga technically deserves this shot at Canelo. I can't really say he's earned it, but he's the right place at the right time in Canelo's career,
and from the right nation that plays a part.
Yeah, that's
like if he's not from Puerto Rico, you can't have this fight.
Right, and this is, I mean, it's Mexican Independence Weekend. Puerto Rico versus Mexico rivalry, even though Berlanga is American, really. He's in the United States. He's not a Trinidad and Coto Puerto Rican. He's in the United States. He's a Danny Garcia Puerto Rican. You know what I mean? He's from the States. I don't really say he deserves it. I guess maybe he's earned his top spot, but I don't think he deserves that fight against Canelo. But guys who do aren't getting it either. So hey, that's Canelo's thing. That card.
Don't do that.
We're not gonna talk about Benavidez and Morrell tonight.
I mean, hey, why don't they fight each other? But
yeah,
Morrell did fight. He looked a little not as dominant.
Oh yeah,
he still won.
A little? Shit.
I thought he won every round. Like what? Because he wasn't the Morrell that we're used to seeing. He looked better against his opponent than David looked against his. I'd say that.
I'm just saying he lost a little sauce. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Morrell doesn't beat everybody else. He just looked like he lost a little bit of sauce.
Nibs, I'll say this: there's weight classes for a reason, right? People get fooled. People get fooled because of what these all-time greats did, right? Pacquiao, Mayweather, De La Hoya, Canelo, Cotto, like those guys went up through divisions, but that's why there's so few. What Crawford? That's why there's so few of those guys because every weight division is different, and I think maybe Benavidez and Morrell. Hey, it's you don't just keep doing the same thing. But I thought Morrell, I thought he won. I never thought he was in danger of losing like the zone commentators would want you to think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they were watching.
I know it's
but
not.
I'll say this:
go ahead.
Berlanga has won the fights, whether we think he deserves it or not. He won. Why not? I don't think he's on anywhere near Canelo's level, but okay.
My thing is, he was just somebody's food waiting to happen. Caleb Plant wanted him. Trevor McCumbee wanted him. Canelo, like all these guys, David Morale wanted him. Everybody wanted him because they knew, whatever you want to say about Berlanga, he does bring a name, and that's a good name to have on your record, especially being that he's still undefeated currently. To be the one to take that from him would be, fun. Yeah. And I think it was a winnable fight for any of those guys I just named. Shane Mosley Jr. That would have been a big victory for him. But Canelo's going to do it.
Well,
Canelo's be the one to take.
I mean, we say all that, and we kind of hate it on their kind of way they deal with fighters. But you got to thank Top Rank for that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's Top Rank putting them on against guys that shouldn't be in the ring with, and we saw him knock out 19 or 20. I don't know what the record got up to. And because of that, we kind of knew who he was. And, as soon as he finally got another knockout, it's like, all right, bro, let's cash this guy out.
Yeah.
But I do think if he's not Puerto Rican and they can't sell Mexico versus Puerto Rican on Mexican Independence Day, he's not getting this fight. So
right. I'd take it another step further. If he's not New Yorican and also Top Rank's boy, I don't think he gets this fight. You know what I'm saying? Like he like you said, I think it was Felix, you said it right. It's a perfect storm, right? The other two guys move up to 175. He's the guy that everybody's pushing anyway. He wins his fights, no matter how he does it, he's winning them. And he just so happens to be Puerto Rican, and it's it all worked out for him. Perfect storm. Now
he's got highlights.
I'll give him the credit for this. He asked for this. So, all right, young man. You know what I mean? Look, it's a lot of dudes that say they want to fight Canelo, but don't sign the paperwork. You know what I'm saying? And I'll give him that. He's got room here because even if he loses, like we all think he will, but he makes a good showing of himself. Like he doesn't just go in there and get his ass handed to him in round 2 or 3 or some shit like that. But he actually shows he's got some skill or some talent. How you lose is just as important as how you win. So I hope he actually comes in there and makes a good showing. That's all I can hope.
And he's got, once he gets knocked out, he's got the Munguia fight for him. There's a couple big money fights that he can, stretch off the loss.
Yeah, without a doubt. Shane Mosley Jr. still.
Yeah, he could hang around.
Yeah,
I'm sure Gabe Rosado will somewhere out there and fight him.
Bro, imagine just throwing this out there. I don't foresee it happening because that would mean Canelo would have to lose a belt. But if Edgar Berlanga had a 168 title in some way, shape, or form, this is just an imaginary thing. If this happened, right? Canelo Berlanga happens. Canelo wins, however he wins, vacates the belts, finally moves up. Edgar Berlanga gets an immediate shot, just like Raleigh did, grabs a vacant title against a no-name. Terrence Crawford just picks up a victory over Swift, makes history.
Don't do that.
That would be. I mean, I think at that point it might be a little too much for Crawford. Even as little of I think of Berlanga, that might be too much. But that would be another perfect storm scenario right there. You know how boxing is, and that's a possibility if that happened.
Yeah.
real quick,
there's been crazier things. So yeah, I feel you.
Right. I mean, Sugar Ray Leonard, Donnie Lalonde,
Yeah.
mind, he finessed the system so well. He picked up two divisions in one night. On that card, Raleigh Romero's back. It does seem like he's kind of B-side on this one from the press release that I read, which is interesting. I don't know too much about his opponent from Stockton, California, Manuel James.
Oh, those Northern California dudes never win, so I'll pick Romero.
Shout out to Stephen Fulton Jr. Always been a big fan of him, but he's fighting Carlos Castro, a local fighter out of Phoenix. I'm rocking with Carlos Castro. He's an action-packed fighter, and that's going to be
on that card.
Yeah, on that card.
Yo, that's actually a crazy card.
That is, and again, what Nibs always says: support local boxing. I was just watching Carlos Castro at club show after club show after club show, and look at him now. He's going to be on the undercard of Canelo, fighting Stephen Fulton Jr. And again, Caleb Plant, Trevor McCumbee. We can talk about that real quick. I mean, this show's gone on longer than any other boxing shop, but hey, we still got the momentum flowing. Trevor McCumbee, Caleb Plant. Yes, I may be a little bit biased because Trevor's my boy, but I do think it's a winnable fight for Trevor McCumbee, especially when you look at how he fought in his last fight and where Caleb Plant is in his career. I think it's a winnable fight, and I'm rocking with Trevor McCumbee all the way. And I'm going to go as far as to even say he stops Caleb Plant late in the fight.
Wow. Well, if Trevor McCumbee wins, then you're on the short list for Canelo, which is a life-changing fight. So,
oh yeah,
I know I think it was the IBF took the belt away from Canelo. Are they going to put it up for that fight or something? Maybe. I don't know.
It's the WBA title, but yeah, the IBF took it away.
Okay.
But I don't know who. Yeah, it's the WBA world title, as opposed to the Super World. I don't know how they. But yeah, anyway, Nibs, what are your thoughts on that fight?
I hate to go against you, Felix, but I think Caleb Plant wins this fight, and I think he wins. I don't think McCumbie's ever going to be in trouble as far as getting knocked out or stopped, because I think he's way more responsible than with his chin. But I think Caleb Plant wins it, and I think it's like 8-4, if I'm being honest with you.
I mean, the last time I saw Trevor fight, he was going for it. So, I kind of hope he brings that attitude. And, Caleb Plant, if anything, he showed us he's always down to fight. So, yeah, that's a good fight, man.
Yeah.
It's that card's shaping up nicely. The UFC, I know, has big Mexican field card at the Sphere that same night. So, yeah, hopefully we get another one or two good fights on this Canelo card to kind of combat that.
Hey, Joshua, that's these two. Hey, don't put me in that in that Bud slander mess. Look, they were incorrect. I'm the guy. Trust me, I know. I deal with this all the time.
Appreciate you, Josh.
And, I came around, man. I feel like I can hate, but still respect, right? That's what I do. I'm not hiding it, bro. I'm not like, I'm biased and try to paint a narrative. I just tell it how I see it or what I think, I guess.
We're from Tucson, but Phoenix, same thing. I'm down there all the time too.
Yeah, we cover a lot of those cards, a lot of those local fighters. You'll see them on here. We're supposed to have one on tonight, but yeah.
Yeah, we're all over the place, man. We're representing, we have guys in the East Coast and everything as well too. Before we start shutting it down for the night, we do have, there's a lot of new people here listening tonight. So welcome to the channel. Monday nights, we have the boxing shop. You're going to see me and Ray. Nibs will join us from time to time when he wants to hop on. Dakota might hop on from time to time, but Dakota is going to be starting a new program with us on Sunday nights, which is just a recap of whatever fight happened Saturday night. You can watch that from yesterday. Him and Nibs broke down the card yesterday. And then Friday nights, we have Catch and Counter. It's another podcast. It comes on a little bit earlier than this one, hosted by Jack and Nibs. That one's fun. You definitely want to tune into them too and support them. And appreciate you guys supporting the channel, man. We're going to always have new content on here. And follow us on IG as well, ITR Boxing. We're going to be posting stuff, and then visit our website, itrboxing.com. And then I'll kick it to you guys for actually, hold on. I'll plug the merch. It's been a long time coming. But trust me when I say you guys are going to be very excited about the wait and the delay. The ITR merch is coming. I got a t-shirt on right now. Nibs has one of his shirts on right now. And we're going to be changing the game, man. Ray with the ski mask. We're definitely going to be implementing that too. We're going to be changing the game. A lot of podcasters have merch and whatnot. If you buy that shirt that Nibs has on right now, the money's going to him. That's his. It's going to go to him. Everybody's going to have their own merch gear. If you buy a ski mask or ski mask merch, it's going to go to Ray. You're supporting your local podcasters as well too. And we're going to have some surprises in there. Trust me, if you're a boxing fan, you definitely want to stay tuned. I'm not going to put out any information or even hints, but it is going to be coming soon. Make sure you follow us on IG, because I will be dropping a big announcement pretty soon about the store and the merch that we're going to have available. If you're a boxing fan, especially a diehard who's been following the sport for years, you're definitely going to love what we got cooking up. Kick it to y'all for last closing comments. Ray, go ahead first.
Yeah. So, Turkey, reach out to Felix and see what our price is, and we'll be supporting you too, bro. We'll put you in that ITR Hall of Fame. I'm sure we could get you a belt or something.
T-shirt, some merch.
Yeah, T-shirt, yeah, bro. So just reach out to Felix, see what our price is. But no, man, like I said, I have nothing. I have pure intentions here, right? I like certain guys. I don't like certain guys. I'm a fan of the sport. Just say what I'm thinking that week. Next week might be different. It changes. So, yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in. And
I'll say this.
Go, ITR.
The sport wouldn't be the same if we didn't have Crawford in it. I'm thankful for him being in the sport.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Without a doubt. I'm glad we have him in there. No matter what anybody thinks, I'm glad he's a part of it. But go ahead, Nibs.
I love how you guys clean up the hate. I love it. Look, man, I always say the same thing, man. And it's on the shirt. I don't have to say much. Support your local boxing, bro. Every one of these boxers we've been talking about that are on these major cards, that are fighting for world championships, that are in the rankings, right? They all started somewhere where somebody's had to support them on a local level. A lot of these guys, Bud Crawford, he's from Nebraska. Boxing isn't a big thing in Nebraska, right? They've got him, and that's it. And every time he goes back there, guess what? They show up and show out. He wouldn't be where he is without the support of the people from his neck of the woods, Edgar Berlanga from Brooklyn. They got to show up and show out for their guys. Canelo in Mexico. I mean, again, it takes a village, right? And if you're supporting local boxing, you're supporting yourself. So, you're not just talking about the boxers, you're talking about the guys selling the concession and sweeping up after. So support local boxing, support ITR, Ray, Felix.
Yes, sir. So next week, y'all, it's been fun, but appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Late.